Hey, all you mentees, Uncanny Omar here with your advanced look at the Cable and Wolverine oversized hardcovers from Marvel Comics. Let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of these books. These books are due out in the direct market and book market on April 12th. So what we're looking at are the two first volume hardcovers for Wolverine and Cable during the Dawn of X / Reign of X era. So these are oversized hardcovers, and we do have Inferno coming up. This is another one that's a deluxe edition hardcover. So these are as tall as Omnis. So to kind of give you a perspective, I know I've done videos on my channel where I talk about the different kind of collected editions, but just in case. So they are definitely bigger than your trade paperbacks. So let's take a closer look at these. Both of these, by the way, have been previously collected in the Dawn of X trade paperbacks in anthology series, and then in trade paperback formats. We've had Marauders, we've had Excalibur in this format, and we've also had the X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, House and Powers of X, X of Swords, and the Hellfire Gala. It seems like a lot. But the X of Swords and House and Powers are the most important, I think, because, well, here, let's look at the spines quick. They have the exact same color and design as the trade paperback formats of this era for each of the titles. And then the back design for each of the books. Each one of these retailing for $39.99. Here's the Krakoan language on each of these. It's tough when the past that comes back to haunt you hasn't happened yet. I love that there's a quote for both Cable and Wolverine on each of these. Some think of Krakoa as a safe haven. That's the kind of thinking that gets people killed. Alright, so under the dust jackets, we have the similar design like Excalibur and Marauders, where we have the title across the front and backboard and on the spine for both titles. There's the title and the credits down there. Now, Wolverine does have a volume 1. Cable does not because, well, the series is over. So let's talk about Cable first and then talk about Wolverine. Alright, so let's get this book opened. This book collects Cable 1 through 4 and 7 through 12. So if you're wondering where issues 5 and 6 are, those can be found in the X of Swords hardcover or trade paperback. But yeah, that particular crossover event is not collected in the Dawn of X trades or the Reign of X trades. Reign of X happens after X of Swords. So some of this happens before X of Swords, some of it happens afterwards. We do have another one of these OHCs coming out. It's the X-Force. X-Force is coming out, as well as the Hellions Omnibus. So this book has 283 pages of material, and collecting all those books. So really quickly, the premise of this, I don't like to give spoilers away when talking about books, but I feel like it's necessary because, well, at least what to read before this. I'll just say that. Before this, I think the only thing besides House of and Powers of X hardcover is really the extermination event that happened during the Rosenberg era of X-Men, or what sets up the Rosenberg era of X-Men, rather. It's just X-Men Extermination. It was a 5-issue mini little event, and it kind of set up the new status quo for Cable. You know, we're used to this militant type of older gentleman that's Cable. He's rough around the edges. He's been around a long time, and he's a time traveler. So why he's a young man in this particular series, well, I would read that and then House of X and then this to kind of find out exactly what's going on. Although, Gerry Duggan does a damn good job of filling you in on exactly what happened, why he is young, and why there's a new status quo. And speaking of status quo, we are talking about the island of Krakoa. So the mutants are now all living in the safe haven. They are a nation, and they are acknowledged as a nation by the rest of the world. And that is the new status quo. And there's also something going on that it's really difficult to talk about with spoilers that happens in the island of Krakoa. They have cheated a certain thing, the mutants have. So they're all living in peace. You'll see some villains, you'll see some heroes, but that's pretty much it. Now, as far as Cable, this is all drawn by Phil Noto, and Phil Noto is an amazing artist. And I will be honest, Cable at first to me was a little dull. I kind of found him annoying this young, cocky teenager. You know, I miss my old Cable, the guy, the angry guy that knew what was going to happen and was just jaded from the future. And then you have this complicated character too, you know. He is the son of Scott Summers that got sent to the future to save him from this techno-organic virus that he was infected with. So he's already a complicated character to begin with, and then we have a younger version of him that shows up. So, you know, he was okay. And the title itself felt a little dull. Pretty much there's only 4 big stories happening here. There's the story of Cable, young Cable, Neo Cable, I don't know, what do they call him? Dude Bro Cable, whatever the internet calls him, that's this guy. I'm just going to call him Nathan Summers or Cable. You have him living on this island, and he notices that there's a new cult worshipping mutants, and there are mutant babies going missing. So it's up to him to team up with a couple of other characters that you've seen Gerry Duggan write in the past, and try to get those babies back. The other story is he finds this sword, this magical sword, that belonged to a group of Galadorian knights. And anytime I see that name, I get excited because I immediately think of those fond days of Rom. Now, odds are that's probably not going to happen with Rom, right? Kenner and Hasbro. But anyway, you have these Galadorian space knights trying to retrieve this really cool kick-ass sword that he found. Which I found really interesting because he actually plays an important part in the X of Swords because of said sword. And that is the other story. The 4th story is about his love life with the Cuckoo Sisters, because he happens to be dating all of them. Here, I'm going to skip some pages. Because he's not just dating one sister, he's dating them all. Of course he is. So, there's Deadpool right there, who is King Deadpool during this time, and Gerry Duggan is no stranger to that character. So that's basically it, but about 5 issues in, I was like, alright, this character is kind of growing on me, and I hate that. I didn't want to admit it, mainly due to Gerry Duggan's writing, because, you know, he is talking about a teenage character that has all this future that's ahead of him, and he knows what's going to happen. And he also has to deal with, you know, the relationship with his father, Cyclops, living with him, his sort of half-sister, Phoenix, his grandfather, Corsair, showing up, his uncles, Alex and Vulcan. It's just weird, and he's just thrown in all of this mess. So, I think for what this book was trying to do, it's not till about issues... Honestly, it's not until the Reign of X that I really got hooked during these issues right here, post the Sword, X of Swords storyline. So, I actually really enjoyed it. I like the dynamic between him and his family, his really strange family. Now, as far as the extras that are collected in here, all of the covers are in the back. And this is the way they are collected, with no font on them, no titles, no anything. And then all the variants are back here. It's an awesome, kick-ass Scotty Young cover, and that's Greg Capullo. Not a new piece of art, it's an older piece of art. I think that was around issue 25. So they're all splash pages. And then you have some internal artwork and some black and white art. And as far as the binding of the book, it is sewn binding. And that's what it looks like right there. The book was printed at the Donley printer. Now let's move on to Wolvie. Right, so Wolverine Volume 1. This collects issues 1 through 5 and 8 through 12. And again, just like Cable, issues 6, 7, and... just issues 6 and 7 are in the X of Swords collection, whether trade paperback or the hardcover. This particular book has 336 pages. So Wolverine is pretty interesting. Remember what I said about Cable? Like, Cable started a little dull to me, and I wasn't really digging it, but then I just found it charming, and I was really hooked. From the get-go, I was enjoying this Wolverine. I was really digging it. But then, about halfway through the book, I was like, man, I'm not sure about this book anymore. And I know I stay away from my own personal opinions on these overviews, but that's just something that I had to share since I shared that with Cable, so it was already too late. So now you know my thoughts on Wolverine. It started off really strong to me, brought back a lot of the things that I enjoyed about the character, and brought back some new things. So pretty much there's two basic stories happening at the beginning, and you can find out what happens later on. But you have the story of Krakoa now as a nation of like pharmaceuticals. They're making drugs for people all over the world, and that's how they are acknowledged as a nation, because they are trading, so they're into world trading. And somebody is stealing some of these medicines, so it's up to Wolverine to find out exactly what's going on. He teams up with an old buddy, and then we have this new storyline. And the way that this was collected, by the way, in the Dawn of X, is they separated the stories. They took out, like, issue number 1B and 2B and put it into a separate collection. And the way that this is collected is a little bit different than that. You have pretty much just the first half, which is those first few issues, and they've taken out the main storyline, the stuff that's drawn by Adam Kubert, and putting them there. And then you have the Victor Bogdanovic story all the way in the back. So it's kind of split up in two different ways, and then you have the rest of the issues later. But the other big thing that's happening is it's the return of Omega Red and Bogdanovic's artwork. I've said this before. I think it's freaking awesome. And I know a lot of people have compared him to Greg Capullo, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of artists, some of my favorite artists, started off as what some people would consider clones. Like a lot of people, I remember comparing Mark Silvestri to a John Buscema clone, or Travis Charest as a Jim Lee clone, and those guys blew up and made their own thing. And Michael Turner the same way. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with starting it and then developing your own style. I think his art is just awesome. It really, really fit the tone of this dark story. So this is not just the return of Omega Red, but also it's Wolverine versus vampires. That's what we're talking about here. So that story arc is collected there, and then we move on to the Maverick storyline. Yeah, I think one of my biggest issues, why I said kind of drops a little bit when you get halfway, is that I didn't like the take on Maverick. I didn't like the take on the team up. I never thought the character, reading enough of him, and there's not a lot out there, right? Like, you have the Jim Lee stuff, you have the stuff from Larry Hama's run on Wolverine, and then you had his ongoing series. Not a lot of stuff out there for the character of Maverick, so he's not like he's well-rounded and well-developed, but I feel like I knew the character enough to go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. There's an auction going on with like a bunch of supervillain stuff and superhero memorabilia, and a bunch of villains all go to this auction. And the extras in the back are collected in that same way that they were in the Cable oversized hardcover. So you have full splash pages of covers, whether they're variants or whether they're the main covers, and then from time to time you have these right here, these variants in thumbnail size. Whoa, what's up there, Spider-Woman? Oh, that is an awesome one. That's Marcos Martin from God. I wish that was a splash page. Actually, I love a poster of that. That's awesome. There is a David Finch cover right here. There's a Heroes at Home. That one's awesome too, Ryan Brown. So this one's a little bit bigger because of the covers and because the stories are, like I said, like the first few issues had issue 1A, issue 1B, which are just, vampire, people stealing things from Krakoa. That's practically it. The binding of the book, 336 pages. It is sewn binding, also printed at the Donley printer. Not an eye at all, but not really that you need one. The book lays over, I think, rather well, whether you're towards the front or the back of the book. But that, as they say, is that. If you are interested in purchasing either of these two books, check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of these OHCs. Let me know in the comments down below if this is the way that you are picking up this particular era of X-Men, if you're sticking to the anthology series or the trade paperbacks, or if you're hoping one day that we'll get an omnibus of this era in the order that they've been published or the order they've been collected in the Dawn of X trades. This was the Uncanny Omar. Any more questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, ring that bell for notifications, and more importantly, all of you, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.